Listen means this, that everybody comes from a need. That need is human. That need is a seeking. There isn't a human that doesn't seek. Seeking, needing, wanting, craving, yearning, that is human nature. But ultimately what we discover, if we start to listen, is that all we ever want is fulfillment. Inner fulfillment, which comes in the category of being, called love, called joy, called peace, called happiness. You see, it doesn't matter. These are just words. They're all quality-less qualities. They're just being. So ultimately, that everybody wants that. When you listen, you trigger that part. Whether it's a relationship, that very listening triggers that part in you which brings it alive. And the moment it comes alive, you know exactly what to do. I had a woman who was doing hospice work, and she said, you know, I get so frightened when somebody is dying and I'm supposed to be helping them. And I says, forget about helping. She says, I don't know what to say or what to do. You see, first thing, forget about that. Just see that the person who's dying right now, more than anything, they want comfort. They want peace. And you can give them that simply by being with them and listening. You see? There is magic in listening, but we forget it. In fact, the simplest thing that you can ever do in anything at all is learning to listen. This is something that I have learned also in doing what I do, is learning to listen. And then when I listen, there's this voice coming, exactly what is needed for this person, what they need. It just comes. And I find myself doing it because there's no plan. You see? So it's something that you can never say enough. So let's go back to these questions and see what can happen through doing rather than, what happen from listening rather than doing. This person asks, what does it mean when you say it is personal control that creates all emotional suffering, and that the real control and power is love? Can I have some feedback here? What does it mean when you say it is personal control that creates all emotional suffering?
Isn't that the small self? The small self is the one, the ego, that's creating all the control?
Yes. But why is control, personal control, is so important to everybody, really, until we become aware that it doesn't work?
Probably the control's there because they feel they lack, or they have fear that they're lacking something.
Okay. Isn't there a need in everybody, either to amount to something, to be counted, to be recognized? It's in everyone. You see? For example, Sylvia does teaching, knitting, design, work, etc., etc. And one of the helpers that was helping her was offered a similar job, and she called Sylvia and she said, do you mind that I'm going to be doing the same thing? I don't want you to think that I'm taking your place. I'm taking, your job here. Okay? And of course, Sylvia was very happy for her. But the point I'm trying to make is that we often feel that if somebody is going to do something similar, we feel as if we're being ignored. Okay, let's take, for example, in my case, in this case I'm playing the role of a satsang teacher. Okay? So maybe most of you go to another satsang teacher. You see? And then you begin to feel, oh, maybe Burt won't like this, or whatever you start to think. And believe me, that won't matter to me. But there's always the thought that somehow or other you're going to hurt somebody, or what I'm trying to say is that you feel you want to be in control, you want to be numero uno, okay? You see? And when somebody does the same thing, or maybe does it better, it kind of hurts a little bit. But what is it that hurts? the controlling part in us that always wants to be recognized. You see? Okay. So that's called personal control. And when there is that personal control, I want to be number one, I want to be regarded, I want to be top. That always brings suffering. Because it simply doesn't work.
The root of control is also resistance to what is. And
That's
when
right.
you resist something, you're going to suffer because you're fighting a battle.
Exactly. In fact, the word resistance is itself what causes all the suffering. You see, fear itself is not a bad thing. If you look at it as something that you're doing that is keeping you not free, you see, so you use it as a lesson. But if at that point you think, oh my goodness, fear, this is bad, I shouldn't have to fear, I'm supposed to be liberated, whatever that means. You see, so at that point, what is happening here is resistance to that fear, which of course will increase. And that's what causes all the emotional pain, overactive mind, etc., etc. You see, resistance. It is resistance that we need to look at, and resistance, like you said, is personal control. So now we're saying also that the real control and power is love. Can you explain that to me? Why is love the greatest power, the greatest force?
Love, love is being itself, and therefore everything arises from it, and everything falls back into it, and our struggle, it even loves us in that. I mean, there's no place where it isn't.
There's no place where it isn't. No.
And
right.
So it is the warm soup that bathes our being.
Yeah. And even when we so-called suffer, and even when there is resistance, it's showing us what is not working, so that I draw you back to me, love is saying. You see? Because this is the only thing that works. The greatest power in the universe. And all the other laws, the greatest law, the greatest, is unconditional love. And all the other laws are subservient to it. The law of gravity, the law of supply, the law of attraction, whatever. They're all subservient to love. Okay? But love is the greatest power. There was a movie made, most of you are aware of, it's called The Secret. And The Secret was based on the attraction, the power of attraction. And they based that as the secret, but that isn't the secret. That is a minor law compared to unconditional love. Because that is what we want more than anything, that feeling. Now, love and loving are not the same. See? We confuse the two. Oh, I am love, therefore I am going to be loving. That is not the same thing. The moment you think of yourself as loving, or wanting to be loving, you are defying the very love nature that you are. Because it has no action in it. Now this is where we begin to understand non-action, non-doing. The moment you realize you are love, this means that you're realizing everybody else is. We are one. There's only oneness. There's only being, in other words. Well, the moment you recognize that, you don't have to do anything. That very recognition will shine through you. You will automatically be loving. And everything that happens from you will be that love. But you're not doing the love. The love is simply expressing itself. It is being itself. And that is the power of love. You know, yeah.
I was going to say one word that really works for me to convey love is the word allowing. Complete
unconditional allowing.
Which is a synonym for listening.
Yeah.
And to me that's why it's so powerful, because when you are allowing, so many resources come to you. It's not you trying to be all the power yourself. Mm-hmm. You're letting all this power flow through you. Yeah. So in some way it's not you doing it at all. It's complete allowing.
Complete allowing. Yeah, and that word is perfect. You're not doing anything, you're just allowing. You're not getting in the way, you're not resisting, which which brings that flow into being automatically.